All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be finishing off the French Revolution. So, if you remember from the last class or last video, we're talking about the rise of Napoleon, basically how he comes to be the Emperor of France. Now, we're going to look at what happens afterwards, basically, when he's like, hey, I could take on anyone, and he's basically challenging all of Europe, all the major powers. So we're going to look at what happens basically from then on, okay? All right, so the objective today, we're going to analyze the attack on Russia by Napoleon. Then we're going to examine the significance of his loss at the Battle of Waterloo. Why was that so big and how did that come to be? And then we're going to create an argument on whether Napoleon should be judged as a good or bad emperor. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the warm up. All right. So the first question asks you, what part of the world is Napoleon really focused on? I mean, if you look at the picture, his eyes are big and he's like staring at one part of the world. And on the world, the part he's cutting up, it does say a name there. Okay, now I don't know if you're looking at this on your phone or a laptop or it's a regular desk computer, but the thing is, it might be a little difficult for you to see. So let me throw you a little hint here. It's a part of the world, it's a continent that starts with the letter E. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a clue and you can figure that out. The second question asks you, do you think Napoleon is going to be satisfied with the slice he has, or you think he's going to want more? Because if you look at the other guy, he's taking a large piece, and when Napoleon's like really focused on that little piece, do you think he's going to be satisfied with that little piece, or do you think he's going to want more? And why do you say yes? If you say yes, tell me why. If you say no, tell me why. If you think he's going to be satisfied or not. Okay, and why. So pause the video, write your response, okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so now Napoleon is looking elsewhere to fight and seeing who can take him on. So he tries to attack Great Britain, which is England. Um, France and England are very close to each other, but the waters between them, it can be pretty bad. It can be pretty rough, and that's what happens exactly to Napoleon. He sends ships over to Britain, and because the waters were so tough and things like that, some ships were basically collapsed, some, tipped over, things like that. And those that did actually make it to England, the British Army were just prepared for them. They knew, hey, this is bad water. They're coming to us, so let's just stay here. So that's what they did. They stayed by their shore and just waited for the French ships to come over. And those little bit that did come, they were already prepared, and it was a quick battle. So Napoleon was like, okay, you know what? I'll handle you guys later. I'm going to focus my attention on Russia. So on June 24th, 1812, he takes about 600,000 soldiers and they cross the Niemen River, okay? And they make their way towards Russia. Now, here's the thing. Um, Look at the date, June 24th. In June, how are you usually dressed? Are you usually in a coat and jacket and things like that in June? Chances are no, right? So just remember that as we go on, okay? So yeah, the Russian soldiers and citizens retreat every time the French army keeps going in and more in and more into Russia. They're winning. They're winning battle after battle after battle. So September 7th, the French win, making the uh, Russian army retreat, but they lose about 30,000 men. Okay, so each place they're going, they're fighting, they're winning, but they lose men here and there. Um, September 14th, they actually make it to Moscow. But when they get there, they realized like three-quarters uh, of Moscow is burnt down. The Tsar basically said, burn it all. Burn it all. Don't give them a place to rest. Don't give them food to eat. You know, um, burn the fields if you have to. Don't give the French anything. So basically, what happened is Napoleon and his soldiers surround whatever's left of Moscow, and they're basically waiting for the Tsar to surrender, but they're not. They're just there, they're just waiting, this and that. And basically, he waits almost an entire month. Actually, he does wait over a month. And then comes October. This is when winter really starts to come in. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Russia is extremely cold in the winter time. Now things are starting to get really cold. So remember, they left in June, and now it's October. They don't have the winter clothing to keep themselves warm. So what happens is he retreats. They leave Moscow and they try to go back home. And as they're going, it's getting colder and colder. And it gets to one point, actually, Napoleon tells his men, leave our wounded behind. So if you're helping your buddy, because he lost his leg and things like that, leave him behind. They're only slowing us down. We got to make it out of Russia. And that's what they do. They leave behind their wounded soldiers in Russia. Now, a lot of students have asked me in class what happened to those soldiers. I'm sure a lot of them died. I wouldn't doubt it. Some were taken in. Some were probably taken in as prisoners, things like that. Who knows? But I'm quite sure a lot of them died. So by the time they get back to the Niemen River, um, Napoleon only has about 10,000 men left. He went from 600,000 to 10,000. That's a huge drop. Huge drop. And the thing is, you have to remember, Napoleon did not plan for this. And on top of that, they won every battle. Every single battle they won. But at the end, they didn't get anything. And here's a little map. The blue lines is when they went to Moscow. The red line represents the track they went when they were retreating back. So if you see on November 1812 right here is where they abandoned their wounded soldiers. So here's my question to you. Would you say Napoleon's attack on Russia was a success or not? Because like I said, remember, he won every single battle. Every single battle. He did not lose one battle. But he didn't take Moscow. He didn't take Russia. They retreated. So do you think that was a success or not? Okay. Tell me what you think, why you believe that. Okay. Um, so pause the video, write your response, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So with Russia, that campaign, Russian campaign, basically a failure. This led to an uprising all over Europe. So all the places that Napoleon conquered, the people were now going against the French soldiers, and they basically kicked them out. Um, Even the people who really, really hated Napoleon, they got together to form the Sixth Coalition. Russia, Austria, Prussia, they got together and they captured Paris in 1814. Now, here's the thing. By the rules of war, um, if you are a conquering country, if you conquered a territory, when it comes to peacetime, you can actually say, I want that land. So Russia, Austria, and Prussia basically had the right to say, we want all this land that we conquered in France. But they didn't. Instead, they basically told the people of France, you guys can have your land back. We don't care about this crap. We just hate Napoleon. We want him out of here. And that's what happened. Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba. which is in the northwest coast of Italy. It's a tropical paradise. You know, sun, sand, his own basically private island. But Napoleon is not happy. He wants to be emperor. Now, most people would see that as a nice little retirement, not Napoleon. Now, here comes the problem. Now, the leaders of France are like, okay, well, who's going to be in charge? What do we do? So then they were like, well, there's Louis the 18th. He was brother to Louis the 16th, the king we chopped his head off in the French Revolution. Yeah, there's a brother, so we could make him the new king. And that's what they did, because he is the royal blood, the sang royal, as they say in French. Um, the thing is, though, Louis the 18th, he could have honestly been like, you know what? Let me look at the bad things my brother did. You know, how he was all snobbish and he was always thinking about himself instead of the people, things like that. You would think he would have been like, wow, my brother got his head chopped off because of that kind of stuff. Maybe I shouldn't do that kind of thing. Well, guess what? He did those kind of things. And a lot of people didn't like him because of that. And it made people go, you know what? I kind of wish Napoleon was here. God, I miss Napoleon. Napoleon was, he would conquer area and we were respected. But this guy, this Louis the 18th, he's just, I mean, about him, he's Mr. Chingon, things like that. But, oh, he sucks. So some people are actually thinking maybe Napoleon would be better to have back instead of this guy. Now, Napoleon is being watched by some soldiers in the at the island of Elba, but he escapes. Okay, he escapes, and basically he's like, "I'm going to return to France." The new king is scared, terrified, because he knows he's not popular. He knows the French people would want Napoleon as emperor again. So he sends some soldiers to go capture Napoleon before he could come to France. Okay, and then basically either send them back to the island or get rid of them. So here's my question to you. Do you think Napoleon is going to take over France again? Or do you think the soldiers are going to find him first and get rid of him? Which one do you believe? And why do you believe that? Okay, so write your response. There's a writing prompt on the bottom. Okay, tell me what you think. Take a guess. Okay, so we're gonna pause the video. Okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. Okay, so what happens is this. The French soldiers do find them. They do find them, and Napoleon, when he sees them, he basically gets his shirt, rips it open, and says, "Soldiers of the 5th Regiment, I am your emperor. If there was a man amongst you who would kill his emperor, here I am." And there he is, just exposing his chest, showing his heart, basically telling him, "I'm your emperor. If you're going to shoot me, dang it. Shoot me now." And the soldiers, respond with "Viva Emperor," which is "long live the emperor." They're like, "Yeah, that's our guy right there. Heck yeah." We that's why we love this man, you know. So the troops, they side with Napoleon. So now Napoleon is back in France. And on March 20th, 1815, he goes into Paris triumphantly. Like, so you see, like in this picture right here, he comes in with the horse and Mr. Chingon just all riding. Like he's like a boss, just people are cheering, things like that. However, around Europe, people are like, okay, all right, he didn't get the message the first time. Okay, we're going to come after him now. So again, remember, Russia, Britain, Austria, Prussia. These countries don't really get along too well, but they hate Napoleon so much more, they're willing to work together to get rid of him. Okay, they don't really get along, but because of that hatred for Napoleon, it's so much more. They unite. And Napoleon now is like, well, I need an army. So him and his men are going around different towns and basically going around saying, hey, how's your son here? Oh, 15? Good age. We need him in the army. How old's your son? 13. He looks 14. Close enough to 15. Let's get him and be a soldier, you know. And other people who fought for him but who were injured, they signed up again to be soldiers because again they respect and love him, so they signed up. So now he's building an army, okay, of really young kids and um, older devoted soldiers. All right, so here's your next question. Make a prediction. Who do you think Napoleon's going to go after first? Do you think he's going to go after Great Britain, the one in red? Because now he knows, hey, the waters are calmer. I can attack now. Do you think he's going to go against Russia? Hey, he learned his lesson. He now is more prepared, on how to attack Russia. Do you think he's going to go after Prussia, which is in gray? Because, hey, they're smaller. They'll be easier to attack and contain. Or do you think he's going to go against Austria? Hey, they're right there. They're closer in land to him than the other countries. What do you think? Which country do you think he's going to attack and why? Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So, June 18th, 1915, at Waterloo, Belgium, Napoleon meets a combination of the British and Prussian army. Now, the thing is, the British, Prussian, and Austrian armies basically know they need somebody in charge who isn't going to fall for Napoleon's tactics, who isn't going to be like, oh, I'm smarter than him, I can beat him, oh, I could do this and that better than him. They don't need somebody with an ego. Napoleon has the ego. They need somebody who can outsmart him, you know. And the Duke of Wellington leads the combined army against the French. Now, what he does is something unique. They kind of lure Napoleon into a Waterloo. They wanted Napoleon to chase them, so what they did is they basically made it look like they were scared of him, and they ran away. And Napoleon, because of his ego, like, hey, they're running away from us. We can get them. Let's get them. They're scared of us. Let's charge. And that's what happens. He lures Napoleon into Waterloo, where then he comes around along with the Prussian army, and they attack. Well, then the Austrian army comes from behind, and now Napoleon has nowhere to run. Okay, and it's a humiliating defeat for Napoleon, and they lose. And because I lost, Napoleon is again exiled to St. Helena. Now, Napoleon figures the first, right away, oh, the French people are going to want me back. Oh, they're going to want me, and they'll welcome me and they'll try to rescue me. That doesn't happen. The French people are like, you know what? Yeah, we're done. We're done with you. They actually prefer that he is um, exiled because now a lot of the world looks at them like, you know, you try to do this, you try to do that to us. You guys were basically a bully. So, yeah, no, we don't want to help you. We don't want to talk to you guys, things like that. That's the legacy that Napoleon gave. It destroyed the French politics for years. They couldn't build up allies right away. It took time for them to um, form friendships with neighboring European countries. And it's all because of Napoleon, with his desire to conquer all of Europe. So that's the legacy he gave them. All right, so here's a little map of the battle. As you can see, number one, they go in, two, they keep going in, three, and four, five. And as you see, when it comes to like six, they go into Waterloo, and that's where the red, they come around, they go in to Waterloo, and on the side or here with the eagle, that's the Austrians. They come in from the side, and bam, they basically corner the French uh, army. Now, here's your next question. With the humiliating loss at Waterloo, what do you think really hurt Napoleon the most? Okay, remember, he has an ego. He has a huge ego. Do you think that it's the point that no country fears him anymore? No country is like, whatever, Napoleon. I'm going to conquer you. Okay, whatever. Do you think it's that? Do you think it's the fact that his people didn't believe in him anymore? Or do you think it's the fact that people were saying, you know what, yeah, you beat all these little countries, you know, but you never beat anyone big. You didn't beat Prussia. You didn't beat England. You didn't beat Russia. You didn't beat Austria. You picked on little countries, but you never won against a big country. You know. So do you think that hurt him the most? Or do you think it's also the last one that his people prefer that he was exiled? Hey, you hurt us, you give us a bad name, so now we don't want anything to do with you. Which one do you think really hurt his ego more? And why do you think that one? Okay. So pause the video, write your response, because we're moving on to the exit ticket in three, two, one. All right, so remember, you're only answering one of these three questions. The first one says, what could Napoleon have done different on his attack on Russia? And so justify your beliefs. What could he have done differently? The next one is, why is Napoleon lost at the Battle of Waterloo so important? Again, justify your reasoning, your thoughts. And the last one is, would you say Napoleon was a good or bad emperor? And why? Okay, what do you think? So again, whichever question you feel you can answer better, go with that one. All right. So once you're finished with the exit ticket, guys, that's it for this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed the lesson. All right. Um, I will see you guys later. You guys take care and you be safe, okay?